Atomic Habits, an easy and proven way to build good habits and break bad ones. A revolutionary system to get 1% better every day. People think when you want to change your life, you need to think big. But world-renowned habits expert James Clear has discovered another way. He knows that real change comes from the compound effect of hundreds of small decisions. Doing 2 push-ups a day, waking up 5 minutes earlier, or reading just 1 more page. He calls them atomic habits. So this is what we'll be discussing today. First, let's light our candles. 1, 2, and the one you can't see. 3. Got it first time that time. This book is... First I'll tell you how I came across this book. I had seen I guess I'd been suggested this video on YouTube a number of times. I'll put it in the description. And the thumbnail said, "Set systems, not goals." And I took issue, I guess, with that immediately, because I have seen the value of setting goals in my life, and I thought, okay, why are they saying this? Why are they saying not to set goals, essentially? And as I looked more into it about what they were talking about in terms of setting systems, not goals, I came across some writing by James Clear, and then across this book. And it is life-changing. There's really no way to say it other than that. The Atomic Habits method, I guess, is... I'll just go to the little review part. There's so much in here, and I normally get all my books from the library, which it wasn't, this book wasn't an exception, but this book I actually went out and bought afterwards, because I wanted to be able to have it for myself to look back on and read back over in future. But I also wanted to have it so I could loan it out to people. So this is the overview, and I really do highly recommend reading the book so you can really delve into that and understand a bit more how everything works. But he goes over, there's basically 4 laws, and you can use those 4 laws to create a good habit or to break a bad habit. So the 4 laws are: make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, make it satisfying. So I'll give you the example of the habit that I put in place that's been the most revolutionary, I guess. And that would be our dish system that me and my love have. My love and I have been married for almost 10 years. It'll be 10 years in April. And it's been a bugbear the whole time we've been married, that he will tend to do a lot more dishes than I do. And that's mainly because my main way of going about dishes would be to let them pile up and then do a lot of dishes all at once. Whereas he would prefer more to keep a cleaner kitchen. And so, as I was reading through this book, this was something I was thinking about with my love's mental health issues. I know that having a cleaner kitchen does put less stress on him. And so it is something that I've wanted to figure out, but never really known quite how to do it to work with how I am and that sort of thing. So the system that we have now is every time we go into the kitchen, we'll do 3 dishes, or we have 3 dish equivalents as well if you're really not in the mood to do dishes. But so we have, the other options are to put 7 dishes away, to take something yucky out of the fridge, to take one of our bins out, our green bin, recycling bin, or rubbish bin, trash bin. I'm an American who's lived in Australia for almost 10 years, so I have interesting terminology. Anyway. And, or wiping down the sides, wiping down the stove, those sort of things, or other things we could do. But the basis is this 3 dishes. And I set this system. It's easy. No matter when I go in, because this was the biggest thing that I wanted with my love's mental health. It can sometimes be that we are in a very drained position because it can be very trying dealing with whatever he's going through. And so I wanted a system that would work no matter how bad either of us were feeling, essentially. So that was the way to make it easy. To make it obvious, it's basically, for me, I feel like as soon as I've passed the threshold of the kitchen, it's time to do that. So it's very obvious. As you walk into the kitchen, you can see the dishes. The dishes are out there. So it's very easy to link that in and make it obvious. To make it attractive, that is actually, it's hooking in to something that's already attractive. Usually if you're going into the kitchen, it's to get something to eat or something that is usually pleasurable in that way. Maybe to sate thirst by getting a drink, something like that. So it's already, if I put the dishes, just 3 little dishes in front of that, then I still get the thing I came in for. So it's still very attractive. And then it is satisfying because as the dishes get done and the kitchen is kept clean, it's very satisfying every time to just feel the cleanliness of the kitchen. So that's in essence how I've done that. And I've used this actually in a lot of other areas, and I won't go through all of them. But I did want to share that one because that was the first one. It's the one I've been doing the longest. I probably read this a couple months ago. And one of the greatest things actually about this dish system, but again, it's because one of his recommendations is that any habit you want to establish, to start it off, make it take less than 2 minutes. And with our dishes, we've done that. It takes about a minute to do 3 dishes, I think. And so it never takes more than 2 minutes, so you can always just get that done. So that does help it feel easy. But anyway, the other part I wanted to talk about is it's about identity. So early on in the book, he talks about the 3 layers of behavior change. You have identity, processes, and outcomes. And in outcome-based habits, we're generally trying to change our outcomes. So will impact our processes and that we hope that will sometime change our identity. And he says with this, if you maintain the same identity, this can be often why when you set a goal, you will go along and, do all the things required for that goal. But then as soon as you achieve that goal, you will stop doing those things. And that's because your identity hasn't changed. And so you are basically going back to your default identity. So what he says is that the best way to establish your habits is to actually start from the identity and work your way out. And doesn't sometimes for identification, it may not be the identity that you want to start with. But for example, if I was looking at our dish habit, I did institute this as well. I've always thought of myself as a messy person. I have never been a clean person. And so that's part of my identity. So even when I try and change my outcomes or processes, if I'm not getting into that identity, I'm going to revert to form, in essence. And so with this, I have started, and I think it was like my first day doing it, and I was talking to my mom, and I told her, I'm a clean person now. I don't think she quite knew what to make of that, and I think she was probably a bit skeptical. But I think she'd be quite surprised with how much cleaner my house is now. But anyway, and what he says though is if you start telling yourself that you are that thing, or ask, basically, if I want to be a clean person, I might ask myself, what would a clean person do? And as you continually go through that process, you will when you create those habits that are easy, attractive, satisfying, and obvious, then as you do them, you actually confirm to yourself that your new identity is true. So when I go in multiple times in the day and do dishes, I confirm to myself that I am a clean person. And so that builds that in. And so I notice things around. So when I just recently instituted, I've always had an issue with my clothes. So I take them off when I shower, and they're not really dirty enough to put in the hamper, but I don't want to hang them back up because they're not 100% clean either. And so just last weekend, I was looking at addressing this issue, but the awareness and the idea that was an issue that needed to be solved came because I have the identity as a clean person, and so I feel this dissonance that I'm not being who I am, in essence. So it's really interesting. We've also started making our bed a lot since then. But the thing I came up with for that, I've been reading all around, and it seems like it's actually an issue a lot of people have. They have a chair or a pile of clothes, and it's these purgatory clothes that people don't know what to do with. So I've actually ordered a little rack that I can hang on the back of my bathroom door so that I can hang up my clothes that are still kind of in rotation. And then when it's washing day, I'll just take everything off the rack and those go into the wash. So it's made it a lot neater. I haven't even got it yet. I've got it over a towel rack right now. And it's really making a difference in how the bathroom feels. Anyway, we could go on about habits forever, but so this is a really, really good book. We'll go over. So I don't think I even it's just tiny changes, and then that sets off a chain reaction, which has a massive and huge change. And that's what this idea is if you make these really easy changes, the biggest thing is actually getting the thought behind the systems to figure out what the best systems are to put in place. But yeah, so if you get those systems in place, you can see huge difference. So the parts of the book, the fundamentals, why tiny changes make a big difference. The first law, make it obvious. Second law, make it attractive. The third law, make it easy. The fourth law, make it satisfying. Advanced tactics, how to go from being merely good to being truly great. One of the other concepts that I really liked from this book was the idea of what is something you can do today that will change your life forever, basically. And it's just little things. It's when you can identify those choices and make those choices. And they can be really simple things. So for me, one of the biggest things that I did was went through my email list and unsubscribed from all of these emails that I never looked at and never received, so that my inbox wouldn't be chunked up with those emails. And yeah, it made a big difference. So this is not just a 5-star book in my opinion. This is a book that does belong on your bookshelf and is worth reading again and again and loaning out to friends. It's very practical. It's very helpful. If you have a habit you want to set out, this will help you be able to put that habit into place. It's a very, very effective system. So I can't recommend Atomic Habits highly enough. So that is it for Atomic Habits. Let's see what we'll be looking at next time, which will be Office Politics by Oliver James. Perhaps not quite as positive a review as today's. Hope to see you then.